Morning, everybody. Whoa. All right. I'll step way back. I'm not as tall as Ralph, so they didn't have to, turn it up as much. Anyway, good morning, everybody. This is day 2 of the National Cleanup Workshop. And for many of us, it's actually day 3 as well, for those people who attended the early career professionals. But yesterday, it was a real interesting day. We started the day with Ike talking about not only the accomplishments, but really the direction of the EM program and even the Department of Energy at a lot of different sites. The Deputy Secretary talked about the importance of the EM program and the work that you all do at the individual sites. And the importance of the communities, and then opportunities to reuse some of the property. Congressman Fleischman was very clear when he talked about the support from the chair of the Energy and Water Appropriations Subcommittee of the House, the importance of this program and the importance of all the DOE programs, and the support that he has. He also talked about advanced nuclear reactors. He talked about fuel and some of the missions that I think are to be going into many of your sites going forward in that particular area. And he also made the important comment that, if you want to see the government funding continue, make sure that your representatives know and understand that as well. Mayor Gary, the chair of ECA, talked a lot about the importance of continuing to work with the Department of Energy on workforce issues. He talked about the excitement of September 22nd and having the Clean Up to Clean Energy meeting at the Hanford site for all of those who are going to be there. I think that's going to be a great opportunity to hear about that particular program. And he also talked about the importance of working together and continuing to work with FCOG and DOE on a lot of different initiatives as we go forward. And we're going to be talking a little bit about one other item that he talked about, which is dealing with and addressing waste issues and the importance of that. The managers, the hard work that they do, was really on display during their presentation, and the issues that they're dealing with, not only with the successes, but also just how do they get their job done, and the insights from that I thought were extremely helpful for everybody. And you see how it's a complex. You see how it's not just one site, but how the sites really work together. So yesterday was a great day. Really enjoyed it. Now I'm going to get out of your way, and I'm going to introduce Amy Fitzgerald from the City of Oak Ridge. Amy?
Good morning. Welcome to the second day of the National Cleanup Workshop. Seth gave a terrific wrap-up of all the information that we got yesterday, the conversations, and it was a great day. My name is Amy Fitzgerald. I'm with the City of Oak Ridge. I'm the Government Affairs Information Services Director for the City of Oak Ridge, and I'm also a member of the Energy Communities Alliance. So this morning, it's my privilege to welcome Jim McConnell. Jim is the Associate Principal Deputy Administrator of the National Nuclear Security Administration. And I first met Jim about 10 years ago when he was serving as NNSA's Deputy Associate Administrator for Infrastructure and Operations. And the City of Oak Ridge, as many of you know from our community, was beginning the process to replace the Manhattan Project era water treatment facility that was built in 1942 that the Department of Energy had transitioned to the City of Oak Ridge about a decade earlier than that. So we've been working for a long time in working to construct a new water treatment facility, and Jim really helped us building a relationship and understanding the importance of working with the host community on this critical infrastructure project. The water treatment plant that's currently under construction services not only the Oak Ridge community, but also provides all the potable water for the mission work on the Oak Ridge Reservation. Jim is an electrical engineer by training, and he has a depth of nuclear safety experience, including staff positions at the Defense Nuclear Facilities Safety Board. He also served as NNSA's first Chief of Defense Nuclear Safety. Look forward to hearing from you, and Jim, thank you for joining us here today.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Amy, very much for that kind introduction. I'm really thankful to be here with you all today. Opportunities to speak directly with our stakeholders and our partners are invaluable in supporting our mission, and as we try to continue to leverage and expand our opportunities to partner with the Department of Energy, particularly with the Office of Environmental Management. For those of you who may not be aware of the National Nuclear Security Administration, or NNSA, we are a semi-autonomous agency within the Department of Energy that was created in the year 2000 to cover 3 missions. The first of those missions is to maintain a safe, secure, and reliable strategic nuclear deterrent. The second is to reduce the threats of nuclear danger while promoting nuclear technology through non-proliferation, counter-proliferation, and anti-terrorism. And the third is to provide safe and militarily effective nuclear propulsion to the United States Navy's submarines and aircraft carriers. Although NNSA's missions are unique, we have many partners, including the Department of Defense, the Department of State, the Department of Homeland Security, as well as Congress, our allies and partners, international organizations such as the International Atomic Energy Agency, as well as the private sector. We have our headquarters here in Washington, but we also have a lot of our centralized organization in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we operate 8 primary sites where our work is done. We have 3 laboratories: the Los Alamos National Laboratory, for those of you who have watched Oppenheimer, Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, Sandia National Laboratories. We have 4 plants for production: the Savannah River site, the Oak Ridge Y-12 plant, Pantex plant, and the Kansas City National Security Campus, where we produce non-nuclear components. We have 1 special site, the Nevada National Security Site, which a long time ago was the Nevada Test Site. We haven't done any testing since 1992 and have no plans to do any more underground explosives testing, nuclear explosive testing. We use that site for special activities. I'd like to start off in this discussion, obviously, by summarizing the partnership and the collaboration between NNSA and the Office of Environmental Management. We have a long and very solid collaboration with EM, and we've leaned on environmental management and legacy management, for that matter, to help us with our enterprise, with our learning, and with our growth as we go forward. Many of you probably know that NNSA is in the middle of a fairly significant growth period. I'll talk more about that in a minute. But as we grow and change our enterprise and our work, we are mindful of the experiences we've had and the opportunities to learn from EM and from our partners and our stakeholders to ensure that the future of our activities are done with the least possible risk to public, worker safety, and of course the environment. One way we're doing this in NNSA is through a program we call Long-Term Stewardship, or LTS. This is the program that uses physical controls, institutional controls, information gathering, monitoring, and other mechanisms to ensure people that the environment is being protected at operating NNSA sites where EM has either completed or is in the short-term planning to complete its cleanup activities. LTS supports the ongoing NNSA mission and works to ensure compliance with environmental regulations and continues to reduce the risk of public health and safety and environmental impacts. The program was established in 2007 and currently includes 5 of our sites that either have completed their cleanup or are nearing the end. Those sites are Kansas City, the non-nuclear site in Missouri, Sandia National Laboratories, Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, and the Y12 plant. Our FY23 budget for long-term stewardship is $75 million. Compared to EM, that's obviously very, very modest. But our mission primarily is monitoring of outfalls and systems that EM has developed with our collaboration, and maintaining the operation of long-term systems such as pump and treats. So our scope after we take over from EM cleanup is generally relatively small. We do also plan and engage with key offices, stakeholders, local communities to make sure that, as the title would infer, that the long-term stewardship of our continuing NNSA mission is done in compliance with the best modern practices as we continue to do our work after EM has come in and in many cases remediated some of the activities of the past that weren't necessarily done with as much awareness of how to protect the environment and the public. At our other 4 sites where our mission is ongoing and cleanup from EM is either still has some significant milestones to achieve, both from a time perspective, or we haven't yet gotten to particularly those points. Those are, of course, the Nevada National Security Site, Los Alamos National Laboratory, Savannah River, and I'll forget one. No, doesn't matter. We understand, it does matter, but I can't figure it right now. Pantex. We understand the importance of defining the appropriate mix of cleanup and long-term stewardship. Right? We don't sit back while EM has an active mission on one of our sites. Right? We're continuing as an operating site to generate waste, to generate emissions and need to control our operations. So we have ongoing environmental and public and worker safety health issues and systems and controls that are just part of our normal operations in those things. We also have to look forward to the future, so we collaborate closely with the Office of Environmental Management and the local sites, communities, stakeholders to make sure that we're planning well for the transition from EM to us as the primary environmental steward at our sites at that point. As I indicated, we also partner with the Office of Legacy Management for future site transitions. We collaborate with them to ensure smooth transition of activities that are cleaned up and that NNSA no longer is going to operate. A classic example of that I'd like to talk about specifically is the Bannister Federal Facility in Missouri. We currently operate a large enterprise in Kansas City, but it's at a new site called the Botts Road Facility. For years and years, for decades, we operated a different federal facility at Bannister, we're called Bannister Road. This site is planning to transition to the Office of Legacy Management in October 2025, which is an all-around good news story. I just want to read off a few things here. The 226-acre site was transferred to a private developer in 2017. Extensive site demolition and remediation began almost immediately, and redevelopment as a warehouse and a distribution industrial park started in 2020. The site is currently home to 5 modern industrial and distribution buildings, with 2 additional buildings being planned. The site totals about 2.6 million square feet of facilities and brings about 1,500 jobs into this economically challenged area of Kansas City. Just this past June, the Environmental Protection Agency announced that the Bannister Federal Complex was one of the winners of the National Federal Facility Excellence in Site Reuse Awards. These awards highlight the accomplishment of federal agencies, states, tribes, local partners, and developers in restoring and reusing contaminated land in federal facilities. I'd also like to highlight the DOE Long-Term Stewardship Working Group. This group is comprised of national and site-specific long-term stewardship activities and collaborations to share best practices and promote consistency and common approaches. For example, the Long-Term Stewardship Working Group has established a site transition subcommittee that's focused on the process improvements for ensuring a consistent approach to site transfer and stewardship that addresses best practices. This is being piloted at that Kansas City site. Kansas City is perhaps a little bit easier for us and is often a place that we do pilots because all of our other sites had nuclear operations and have radioactive constituents, whereas the Kansas City plant has other industrial hazards. Additionally, getting back to the interactions, EM and LM and NNSA contribute and collaborate in the Site Tribal Government Working Group, which held semi-annual meetings to provide programmatic updates, address cleanup concerns, and ensure that our facilities and sites are operated and cleaned up in compliance with all applicable federal and state laws and regulations and protect tribal rights and interests. Turning to the little bit more wonky side of things, NNSA is collaborating with Office of Environmental Management on the DOE order on radioactive waste management, DOE order 435.1, for those of you folks who are close enough to things to work by numbers. We're collaborating jointly with EM and so far have made very good progress. We've resolved over 500 comments on the order itself and 250 comments on the guide that is used to implement that order. That's a large number for both of those. On the one hand, it's positive that we're working through so many different people, so many different ideas and perspectives so that we can get to common, centralized, well-understood solutions. The other side of that coin is that we've got 500 things to work on, so there's a lot of work still to go, a lot of different opinions and a lot of different perspectives that need to be accounted for. But that work is on track, hopefully to put the order out for formal review early in 2024. Finally, I'd like to talk about NNSA and EM collaboration to ensure the proper tracking and the proper management of transuranic waste. We're working very closely with the Office of Environmental Management to make sure that, one, that system is predictable, that we are sure we can understand how to forecast shipments, how to forecast certification of waste so that we can execute an efficient and effective program while making sure that every single activity in that program and every single waste shipment is compliant, safe, and appropriate for our waste acceptance requirements. Which takes me to the larger subject I want to take just a few seconds with here toward the end and really hit on why waste management matters so much to NNSA. First off, just recently in 2022, we actually stood up within NNSA an Office of Enterprise Waste Management, the Enterprise Waste Management Division. This division was formed in part due to the increasing waste generation across our sites and interest in operations from federal, state, and tribal organizations. This corporate waste management organization provides support to our field offices and sites to ensure that sites maintain healthy waste management programs and continuously grow and learn from the examples of others. Through this division, NNSA is currently conducting an enterprise study of waste and nuclear material management. This review will use both waste experts, regulatory experts, and also Lean Six Sigma professionals so that we can identify process improvements and best practices to optimize this activity. So let me explain a little bit more why that is so important to us from a mission perspective. And obviously, most of you know that we are in the middle in NNSA of a fairly significant uptick in our work. We have lots of growth in our enterprise over the next 10 years. And one of the most important things in our portfolio to achieve is the production of plutonium pits, which are the center of one of our nuclear explosives. This means significant ongoing work at Los Alamos National Laboratory and the Savannah River site, which will be the two places where we're going to do our pit production. Los Alamos is ahead. They will start sooner making what we call war reserve pits, but their capacity will be slightly smaller than Savannah Rivers that later on will have a larger capability. So what's important for us is that increased work, particularly that increased work with plutonium, means even in a well-managed system, an increased production of transuranic waste. So we have to make sure that from the generation step to the disposal step, we manage that system as carefully and as compliantly and as appropriately as we can, with a big emphasis on the early generation parts. We are developing the processes so we have the ability to make sure we build in all of the best waste management practices at the point of origin. And perhaps the easiest way to describe for us why this is so imperative is that we understand that a single bad waste drum is likely to have a bigger impact on our emission than any single bad pit we produce. Right? So if we make a bad pit, we say, oh, that's too bad. Maybe we're a little more concerned than that. But we just put the material back into the front end of the process and we start all over again. If we produce a bad waste drum, depending on how things go, we could end up with the inability to operate or generate more waste for quite some time. And so we're very acutely aware of the fact that our waste management responsibilities have every potential to be rate limiting in our overall national security mission. So we provide no less focus and importance and senior leadership attention to that than we do in the design and development of the pit itself. Again, we want to continue as we go forward to not only be good stewards, but to reduce and minimize the effect of our impacts on the environment, worker, and public safety as a result of our activities. We are developing additional capabilities, not only in transuranic waste, radioactive waste. There's quite a bit of that gets generated in additional places as we do our increased throughput. Again, I'm cognizant of Amy that at our plant at Y12, which has to grow for its mission just the same as our plutonium side, that increase would be not transuranic, but low-level radioactive waste that needs to be managed just as carefully and just as compliantly and attentively as the waste generated at Los Alamos or Savannah River. Another example is, of course, our approach and the approach of all of you to PFAS. I hope you all know what PFAS is because I'm not about to pronounce it. NNSA is implementing with DOE the PFAS strategic roadmap to assess and address the impact of emerging contaminants at our sites. PFAS is one of those emerging contaminants used in many commercial and industrial applications, including some applications that are of significant national security interest to us at NNSA. NNSA is a member of the DOE PFAS Coordinating Committee and tracks, along with the rest of the department, requirements and the roadmap for actions. As part of the committee, NNSA is coordinating with DOE to develop PFAS resources and guidance documents under the ever-evolving regulatory environment. The PFAS Strategic Roadmap, Historical and Current Use Guide, Environmental Sampling Guide, and other DOE PFAS resources are publicly available on the DOE PFAS website. NNSA headquarters and field sites participate in the working group, which supports practitioners all across the Department of Energy. In conclusion, we at NNSA are proud to partner with our colleagues at the Department of Energy, Office of Environmental Management, Legacy Management, EHSS, all other parts of the organization that help ensure that we can manage the environmental and the safety impacts of the important but hazardous mission that we do. We are working hard to maintain the modern best practices approach to the activities that we do to ensure the lasting environmental stewardship of NNSA sites. The future of our enterprise is bright. We are a growth organization. We have lots of work to do and lots of new activities and new technologies that will be developed over the course of the coming years. Not the least of those is the opportunities to ensure we can upfront and in our design phase of operations and facilities manage the environmental impact of the work we must do. The expertise for much of that comes from the people in this room and the folks that you represent. We are dependent on you for our success, and we are thankful that you are part of our team. And with that, I think there's some time left. I'll be happy to answer any questions you all might have.
Hi, I'm Wayne Barber. I'm a reporter with Exchange Monitor. Two questions. I was wondering, number one, if you could talk just a little bit more about how standing up this new waste entity within NNSA affects the back and forth with environmental management. And number two, your thoughts on Savannah River site transition and how it's going.
Okay, great questions both. So as all you know, the experts in this room, consistent with RCRA and other best principles right there, the responsibility for waste management starts with the waste generator. We are the waste generator in all of our activities. So we have that responsibility. And in order to execute that responsibility well, we have to have professionals who have career dedicated development, experience, education in the best practices and the arts of environmental protection, waste management, waste minimization, things like that. The vast majority of that experience at a department level resides in the Office of Environmental Management. We don't have a big group, maybe 8 or 10 people, but we need 8 or 10 people who would be just as comfortable at home in the Office of Environmental Management as they are in our office, to be our liaison and our interface and our primary point of interaction so that we can execute our mission well for national security, interface well, speak, have those fruitful conversations with folks at a level of technical detail necessary to get to the real heart of matters. And so we have that group in our Office of Environment, Safety and Health. We've always had a few of those professionals, but they've been in the ES&H organization, and now we have created a holistic group with career development and recruiting and retention focus so that we sustain that capability and that interface. I won the bet with a few people that one of the first few questions would be about the Savannah River transition. We are, as many of you know, but just some of you might, the Savannah River site right now is a site that is under the landlord function of the Office of Environmental Management. So EM runs the contract, is the landlord, signs the permits, does all the things you would expect of a federal organization that is responsible for the site. NNSA has work that's done at Savannah River, and we are a tenant to EM. Now, quite frankly, in testament to EM's success all across the country, but also at Savannah River, a lot of progress has been made at Savannah River. Things in the recent past, or now for a while, everything from salt waste processing to DWPF to tank closure activities to the ongoing and future expectations for L Basin accelerated cleanup. EM is doing a great job at Savannah River and is working and is doing what they set out to do, which is to clean up the site and be done and move on. Now, that's not going to happen in the next few years. There's a lot of work at a complicated place. But the general slope of EM's scope at Savannah River is negative. It is going down every year. It will be years, right? But it's going down. Particularly with the pit production that I talked about at Savannah River, the Savannah River Pit Production Facility, which is a huge investment, one of our biggest single activities, and pit production is the single biggest strategic initiative in NNSA right now. Our work and scope at Savannah River is going up pretty dramatically in the next few years. So, with one slope going that way and one slope going this way, those two are going to cross sooner or later. And we decided now is the time to just go ahead and deal with that, to get to the point where NNSA becomes the landlord, the contract owner, the signer of the permits, all those things, and EM becomes the tenant on the site. It's just a role reversal. It provides for some stability and focus in the future, but it doesn't change anything in the short term. Savannah River so this is going to happen if everything works correctly. Our goal is to have this done at the beginning of FY25. So we want to have this whole transition completed and be operating under the new model October 1, 2024. That is, we're on track for that. That's the right plan. But most people are not going to see a very big difference between how things work in Savannah River on September 30th and how they work at Savannah River on October 1st. Some back office stuff's going to change, and we're going to start transitioning other activities, but this is getting us ahead of the curve, getting us set up for what is obviously the future of both organizations. But it is not a revolutionary thing, it's an evolutionary thing. Does that help? And I think the big red sign is on.
Jim, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us this morning. Stick around. Thank you. So I think we're going to move right into the next panel. And if we're going to come up and get set up, and we'll continue our conversation.